Hello, my friends. Good afternoon. It's 2 o'clock on Monday, in the middle of November. I'm Pastor Lou Kilgore, and this is Pastor's Chat. It's probably misnamed in that a chat usually involves a two-way conversation, but your side of the conversation has to be assumed and implied. For here, the High Mountain Presbyterian Church is carrying out a ministry of contact, connection between myself as the pastor, and I'm Lou Kilgore, as I said, and many people, some of whom are sheltering in place kind of because of the COVID and their age or whatever other conditions they might be worried about. For some, their situation is not different. Their age, for your age, or things have reduced your life so that an opportunity to come and sit and talk with the pastor has not been an option for you for many years. Here it is. So it's Monday, and it's the fall. As my wife and I were driving the other day, we went down through the mountain paths and realized that the mountains have gone gray. They're not even brown anymore. The leaves are all gone, and the gray of fall and the entrance to winter. Sorry, that's my yawn. The entrance to winter is here. What's that? It was the winter of our discontent. I think this will qualify. In my devotion this morning, there was a sentence that has stuck and has carried with me. Somewhere deep inside of me, God has sown the seeds of peace. Somewhere deep inside of me, God has sown the seeds of peace. And I've been on a thought journey ever since. That deep in us all is the capacity for a life of peace in the middle even of turmoil, a life of confidence and a life of hope. I think that this time of year in the forest, if you walk in the forest or if you just drive slowly through the forest, you see and feel some of that peace emerging as life enters into a dormancy. Winter life, when you live in the area we live in, is a dormancy. It's a period of dormancy. All the growing stops. All the expanding, all the producing stops. And life is preserved because the ability to draw in and become dormant. It used to amaze me, and still does amaze me. When I was growing up, my dad always had a fish pond outside, goldfish, and it was just part of his signature. He have a hole in the ground and a fountain. They had to have a fountain on it, and truthfully, this was before it was so popular. My dad always had a fish pond. I think he would say it goes back to his grandmother in Lidditz, had a very stylish little pond in the water with goldfish. And when I was a kid, not many times, but every now and then I can remember going there to my great-grandmother's house and sitting on these marble benches and watch the goldfish. So here's the part that I marvel about. Those goldfish at this time of year are settling in to the bottom. They are going way down deep. And if they can get below, in this area, it takes about 2 feet. If they can get below 2 feet, the water never freezes. It never goes below that critical point of turning solid. And so the fish can live. But they hibernate, they go dormant. Their need for oxygen is slowed because there's less oxygen in the water. Their need for food just diminishes almost completely. And so they live, and sometimes they live down in the mud. These are fish, but they burrow down in the mud and, I don't know, close their eyes and go to sleep like the bears when they hibernate. I don't know. But it's just a fascinating concept to me that there is built into the created order, built into this beautiful network of relationships, the demonstration that we can, if needed, go dormant to preserve life. And what always used to amaze me also further was that in the spring, when we would clear out whatever leaves had been caught in the nets on the top, we would put nets down to keep so many leaves from getting down there, because if rotting leaves were in there, they could consume whatever available oxygen was there for the fish and they would die. So we would try to keep the leaf blanket on the bottom to a minimum. So we would pull off the nets, and then we would drain the water because it was so putrid, and begin to refill. And what's amazing to me was that was when we discovered, I guess, in the dormancy of the winter was when the new little fish had been born. Just hundreds of little goldfish, little tiny goldfish were there. So during the dormancy of winter, something new had been brewing, something new, something that would provide the impetus for spring of new life. And I suppose it's the same way in the trees as they withdraw the essence of their life. They withdraw their sap, and they take the sap back from the leaves, and they draw that sap back down into the center of who they are and how they live. And then there, out of that center of where it's withdrawn to, bursts new life. What an amazing, absolutely astounding cycle of life. I am a progression person. I am a person that believes in the new things. I'm not stuck on the way things are in the past. But I'm aware that in some of our journeys forward in our lives, we've gotten out of step with this dormancy to life kind of thing. We don't rest enough. You've heard me talk about this before in the pastor's chats. We really don't. We might go on vacation, but we don't take the time that is a dormant time to rebuild. I've referred to this before, that in one place in Scripture, Jesus tries to encourage us to take our clue from nature, and that when it gets dark and you can't see, it's probably a good time to just stay inside and I don't know, read, because it's not safe to be out. But through technology of lights and electricity, we've overcome that. So now we can see 24 hours a day. You can stay up all night, and you don't have to stumble around in the darkness, and that's wonderful. But it helps us to deny some of that natural cycle of dormancy to life. So I think the best spin, the best depth of understanding that I have for this period now is that we're entering into a dormancy to protect ourselves. And we know how to do it. We do. We do know how to find productivity and life and energy in a dormant stage. We do. In fact, we need it for our own sanity. I know that the shutdown and the loss of jobs and everything is causing a great deal of mental and psychological stress on people. I know that. Suicide rates are up, and divorce rates will be up, and all kinds of stressor problems will come from this change of life. But I also know that there is something to this thing of welcoming a time of dormancy. Take the pressure off. Life isn't usual like it usually is, and that's okay. Embracing that time out to give ourselves a chance for greater creativity or rest or just whatever else is necessary. I know that for the very elderly, that this is a part of every day of life. How do I accept that my world is shrunk and that I live every day kind of in a dormant stage and try to find the places where creativity can help me, writing a letter to a friend or making a phone call or sending an email off to the pastor in response to the pastor's chat. These are the things that make life precious in the middle of its pace. Dormancy to life. In the nighttime when we sleep, there are stages of our body's acceptance that we're sleeping. So the most productive rebuilding time, which I find interesting, is when the body goes to work. When the body goes to work in cell reconstruction and in healing, and all the good part is in that dormancy of the deepest part of our sleep. Life assaults our minds and our bodies. It assaults our sanity. And in REM sleep, our eyes move fast, and there's a lot of like simulated activity. But it's dormant. The body is at rest, and the mind is repairing itself. The mind is rebuilding, is growing new brain cells, and is getting ready for to burst forth when you wake up. Dormancy to life. Dormancy to life. The night is not the enemy. The darkness is not the enemy. The darkness is the invitation for us to go to places that we wouldn't normally go. It's the invitation for us to allow God to show us what we don't know. So I didn't ask yet how you are, but you never answer me anyway. So in whatever way you are today, as the leaves fall and the seasons change and the coldness comes and we're going to be inside, and somewhere deep inside of you and deep inside of me are the seeds of a peaceful moment. A peaceful, restful moment, a peaceful time that takes in today and thanks God for the gift of another day. If you can breathe, to be able to breathe. If you can walk, to take a walk. If you can dream, to sleep and dream. To write. These are the gifts of our Sabbath. These are the gifts that bring us back to God. Moses' contention with Pharaoh ultimately was, you're keeping these people from their Sabbath. You're making them work. You're not giving them the dormancy. You're not giving to them the time to pull back, to reflect. That was the fight between Moses and Pharaoh with the children of Israel. You have to let them go for a day. They need to spend a day in the wilderness. That's what Moses said to Pharaoh. You don't know who these people are. They can't live without their dormancy. They can't live without this time of being alone in the wilderness. Let them go. And Pharaoh said, well, I know what you're up to. It's going to take them a day to get out that far out into the remote area. And then you tell me they're going to spend a day in the rituals of their, practicing of their faith. And then they're going to have another day. They'll be gone for 3 days. And Pharaoh said, I know what's going to happen. You're going to get a day's journey away from here, and you're going to make a break for the border. You're going to run away. So no, I'm not going to let you go. I won't let you go. You're going to stay here and you're going to work 7 days a week. And because you asked, you're now going to make the same quota. I'm going to double your required quota of your bricks. And then when he asked again, Pharaoh said, oh, now you're going to make bricks without straw. I'm going to keep making your life harder and harder and harder until you give in to the fact that you don't need time off. You don't need time away. You don't need the Sabbath, the dormancy that leads to the rest of life. You don't need it. I'm not going to give it to you. That was the fight. That was the fight between the God of the universe and Pharaoh, who claimed to be the God of the universe, who was really just a human being. We are sometimes our own worst pharaohs. So this week, because it's November and because we're entering into, and soon it will be December and Advent, and there in the dormancy of the night, in the dormancy of the shortened day, we begin to allow our minds to be focused on the arrival of a star, of a light that shines in the darkness, of a light that somehow can be seen better in the relief against the darkness. So this week, unless there are other things that you throw at me, I'm going to think a little bit about this season of coming and entering into dormancy, helping us to get a better image to the requests of health officials that say that, it would be great if we could stay at home for anything except absolutely essential journeys. It sounds like Sabbath to me. It sounds like an invitation to Sabbath. I told you that on the farm, I always wondered as a child why my Presbyterian and Moravian grandparents, who believed that on Sunday you should not work, but they milked the cows, none the different. We fed the chickens, we fed the calves. It was work. We did it in the morning and we did it in the evening. And this isn't the language that my grandfather used, but he talked about essential work. And that on that day, even though we could have made more money or we could have had more productivity, all non-essential work was discontinued into the dormancy. And that somehow was welcomed as good for us. Yeah, we couldn't make any money. We couldn't harvest the hay that might rot. There's a lot we couldn't do. We couldn't fix the fences that needed to be fixed. We wait till tomorrow. It was non-essential. Because we were in the essential work of welcoming the dormancy. A time of rest and recreation. My brother and I would jump into the old Willie's Jeep and drive down the road to the other farm where there was a beautiful pond. And we would spend the Sunday afternoon after church swimming, catching frogs and doing things that we would never, ever have ever done had we stayed in the regular cycle of productivity and work. So that's my hope, my friends. We can borrow from the image of the trees and the birds and the fish and welcome a season of dormancy, looking for the light, asking God to help us to release the seeds of peace so that we're not overly panicked about our prospects of no work. And if we have money, we can share it in food pantries and in programs through the church so that no one goes hungry. Season of dormancy. Dormancy to life. I thank you for journeying with me during this period. Some of you have been here coming and going and listening from the very beginning, months ago now. And I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for the discipline that it brings to me to be here, to talk with you, to reflect on these things so that they aren't lost in the rush and the push of life. God bless you, my friends. I pray for the power of this day and the seeds of peace that are planted in you, that they might grow and fulfill you even now. God bless you, my friends. I'll talk to you tomorrow.